You're the guy we want to talk to about this. What's his legacy?
Well, you know, he created 2 shows. He created 2 late-night shows, which is something nobody really has done, you know, that successfully. You know, he succeeded, he succeeded after Carson, you know, holding the late-night show, or Late Show. And then he went to CBS and created another show. And, you know, CBS was really in dire straits in late night. They had nothing. I mean, they couldn't get coverages, they couldn't get clearances, they couldn't put up content. So I think that's his legacy.
I spoke to Howard Stringer yesterday. He signed David Letterman to his contract at CBS. He told me his biggest concern was not that NBC might keep Letterman in the stable. His biggest concern was Rupert Murdoch, because he said he didn't know what he had up his sleeve. Was Fox ever in contention for this man?
He talked to a lot of people. He talked to Robert Iger at ABC, even though they had Nightline.
But Letterman respected Ted Koppel. He didn't want to move him out.
Well, in 2002, there was a point where he was being wooed by ABC, and then, you know, he backed down and re-upped with CBS. But you're right, Fox was a fledgling network. They had Joan Rivers, which failed. In fact, they put on Joan Rivers before they put anything on prime time. They had Chevy Chase, and that failed. So they were looking for something like a Letterman. But I don't think Letterman at that stage would have gone to something as, you know, not as solid as Fox at that time. You know, I think it would have gone to something at CBS, a much more established network.
What about the switch from 12:30 to 11:30? I asked Mr. Stringer about that, too. That's not an easy transition to make, because the audience tends to be more conservative. Younger folks are up at 12:30 to 1:30 in the morning, not folks our age. So you're talking about a conservative. Maybe it tends to skew Midwestern audience. It's 10:30.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's one of the things that Johnny Carson told Lorne Michaels when Saturday Night Live was launched, is, you know, they're doing these monologues. It's 10:30 in the Midwest. I mean, it's a broad-based audience there. But he was able to make the adjustment. He dressed differently. He dressed a little more elegantly. And, you know, he looked a little more professional, and he was able to woo the, you know, the 11:30 audience, which, as you point out, there's more viewers and more established or older viewers than 12:30.
Tell me about the deal that he did make with Howard Stringer. He got to keep some rights. There's worldwide pants involved.
He did. I think that was part of the deal. Johnny Carson set this deal with NBC in the early 80s, where he retained control of the show. And when Letterman was being wooed by CBS, that was one of the offers on the table, was that he would, you know, he'd be able to control his own show. And not only that, he'd be able to control the show after that at 12:30, which has been run by Craig Ferguson up until last year. And then he created shows like Everybody Loves Raymond was a show that came out of Worldwide Pants. So, you know, that was a very lucrative business for that. And one of the things Les Moonves said when Letterman stepped down is CBS gets control of that show because there's a lot of money there.
So what happens with Worldwide Pants now?
That's a very good question. I don't know what he's going to do. He says he's retiring from the show. But, you know, it was an interview on Sunday morning where he didn't quite say he's still going to be doing things. But I think that, you know, I don't think we're going to see too much of him. I think he's pretty much a recluse and a private person, just the way that Johnny Carson was.
I read the Rolling Stone article. He wants to spend time with his son, Harry. He wants to go fishing in Montana. He wants to do things that a father and son do. Yeah,
well, he's worth about $400 million, supposedly. So I don't think he has to do anything for money. It's been a very lucrative 33-year run for Mr. Letterman.
Stephen Colbert. It's not as if he's filling David Letterman's shoes. He's Stephen Colbert, who's transforming late night in his own image.
No, that's true. In fact, he was at the CBS upfront last week. You know, everyone thought David Letterman would show up, but Stephen Colbert showed up, and he was really very funny. I mean, I think a lot of people who worried about him, you know, that he played a character with the same name, and is that going to change? I think he proved to the advertisers that you know, he can adjust, and he's willing to talk to, you know, work with advertisers and do product placement, and maybe get the network a little angry from time to time.
You know what? It was interesting, because when I was prepping for the interview with you, and I was thinking my own thoughts of David Letterman. It's like when you're a much younger man and it's 12:30 to 1:30. You know, you have a job. I wasn't working here. I was in Pittsburgh. You go home, you've had a long day. You flip on David Letterman, and it's not David Letterman, the talk show host. And I realize I don't mean this to sound corny. It is. You get to spend an hour with your friend. He makes you laugh before you go to bed. That's what I took away from it.
You know, that's what made him a broadcaster, is that, you know, it's somebody you want to spend time with. It's the same thing with Johnny Carson, all the great people. You know, it's still a personality-driven day part. And if you're a baby boomer like he was, well, he still is, you know, he did stuff that you would love to do. You know, drop watermelons from a 7-story building, or put a camera attached to a monkey and have him skate around, or race on elevators and things of that sort. I mean, he toned it down as he got a little bit older.
How did the two Jimmys fill the void, or can they?
Well, you know, right now Jimmy Fallon's in the lead, and Jimmy Kimmel is actually going to go and repeat tonight because he's in awe of David Letterman.
I thought that was very respectful, which is taking nothing away from Jimmy Fallon or anybody else, but the fact that he said, I'm going to watch Dave. I assume everybody else. I want them too, so I'm going to air a repeat. Yeah,
I think this will do a pretty big number. I mean, the Leno finale last year, his second finale did about 14.6 million viewers. I think this will do over 15 million because of the longevity of his career and just, you know, the buzz around his departure. But, you know, this whole late-night genre now is turning online. You know, there's a lot of fractionalization, a lot of DVR playback occurs at that hour. And, you know, obviously there's a lot of, you know, content. Adult Swim, if you want to get young viewers, watch Adult Swim.